What is up, everybody? Welcome in to Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, Jake Thomas here on a beautiful Saturday morning. Jake, how are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great, Stacey. You've been putting out some great content this past week and the last couple of weeks. Thank you for doing that. Been some really good stuff. But I finally got with you the other day, and I was like, I'm going to have some free time Saturday, so let's do something. And we come up with a live. So we're here. The two-man weave is back. So let's get to it, man.
Excited to be here, Bob. Good to have you with us.
Thanks,
Always
Bob.
joining us, Bob. Fantastic stuff. Great to have you. Yeah, man. It's we hadn't been able to do a live show together in I don't know, probably about a month. I guess since Cliff Amorier
Yeah.
committed to the basketball team. So a lot's really happened since then. You mentioned that I put out some solo content over the last couple weeks, but we are back and better than ever here this morning together. I hope that you'll join us in the live chat as we kind of go throughout the show. We'll be it's an offensive line focused show this morning. We'll be talking about what the expectations are for the offensive line. We'll talk some Kadyn Proctor. What a wild offseason it's been for him. We'll talk about Parker Brailsford, the combination of Tyler Booker and Jaeden Roberts there on the interior of the offensive line. We're going to talk just about the offensive line, the expectations they have here in the 2024 season. And then, of course, we'll discuss whatever the chat's got going on as well. So make sure you are dialed in and tuned in there. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our content here at Tide Talk Live. The summer is here, but we're going to be here all throughout the summer months. We're also free and available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We are part of the Believe Network, and we are powered by betonline.ag. And Jake, we're going to get to Bet Online here in just a minute, but just real quick in like a minute or so, how would you sum up the first few months of Kalen DeBoer era? Just real quick.
I would say fantastic. I mean, he's gone out there. A lot of people was like, he can't recruit in the South. Well, he's blown that out of the water. A lot of people was also like, can he keep some of the 5-star talent that Nick Saban has recruited previously? He's done that with Ryan Williams. He was able to. He lost Kadyn, Kadyn Proctor, but got him back on campus now. So we'll talk about all that. But I would say A+. Honestly, I'm going to give him an A+.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, that's how I would kind of describe Alabama's offseason so far.
Mm-hmm.
Not with Nick Saban retiring, hiring Kalen DeBoer, the saga around Kadyn Proctor, even the saga around Parker Brailsford, which what I would agree with Tristan that was probably a little bit overstated and overreacted to. But Jake, before we dive into the content too much, got to give a shout out to Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. All that is available at Bet Online. When the game's over, then you can head on over to their online casino and get into the game like blackjack or poker, or unwind with any of their, I think it's over 150 slot games that they have there on their website. So head on over to betonline.ag today, visit the website, and use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. There is no better betting website or online casino than betonline.ag. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so we're talking offensive line this morning, Jake, and I want to start with kind of just the overall expectations that you have for this offensive line entering the 2024 season.
My expectations are high because we're going to talk about it a little bit further, but we probably have the best duo combo guard unit in the nation, no doubt, with Tyler Booker and Jaeden Roberts. Jaeden Roberts just an absolute animal, and Tyler Booker is as well. But yeah, I have high expectations. We got a really good center in Parker Brailsford. I'm really excited to see what he can do in this system. And then Kadyn Proctor, he had his ups and downs last year, but he knows how the SEC schedule is. He's going to be ready for that speed this year, and he's going to be able to protect that blind side a little bit better. Really, the only issue I'm worried about is who's going to be that right tackle. But I know the team and the coaching staff has got somebody in mind, and I feel like they're going to plug whoever's going to be that guy, and he's going to fit right in.
I'm with you, Jake. I'm really excited, especially with Kadyn Proctor coming back. I was
Mhm.
slightly concerned in the spring before Proctor announced that he was coming back. When you're trying to replace two tackles and you're not sure who's going to play either tackle position, you got to be a little concerned, especially when it comes to pass protection. You want to protect your quarterback. You want to be able to open up lanes for your running back. But the fact that Kadyn Proctor is going to be back in the fold, going to be that starter at left tackle, was a freshman All-American last season. So I just feel like with him back in the fold, you have to feel better about what this offensive line can be. And I mean, even Pro Football Focus, their college division, they're ranking Alabama as the number one offensive line heading into
Wow.
the 2024 season. And they talk about the growth of Kadyn Proctor that he had. In the first 7 games, Jake, Proctor graded out at 54.5 according to Pro Football Focus.
Oh,
The
wow.
last 7 games, he graded out at 76.3. So you're talking about a kid that got tremendously better
Mhm.
in the last half of the season as a true freshman at left tackle, which only makes sense. I mean, this is a
Mhm.
developmental position. You're talking about a guy who's still trying to knock off his baby weight, if we're just
Mhm.
being honest, playing in the toughest league in the country. Then you play maybe the best defensive team in Georgia in the SEC championship game, then Michigan in the college football playoff. So you're looking at a guy now that's your left tackle that is battle tested, that showed signs of improvement throughout his freshman campaign. So I think you have to feel good about your left tackle spot. Then you talked about that interior, that offensive line, Jake. From left guard to right guard, you got Tyler Booker, Parker Brailsford, and then Jaeden Roberts. Jake, I'm not sure there's a better interior in the country. Uh,
Mhm.
Parker Brailsford was fantastic for Washington last year. We know what Booker and what Roberts can do there at their two respective guard positions. But like you said, it just comes down to that right tackle spot. Now, I'll say this, although my expectations are high, the offensive line is like a chain. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So
Mhm.
if that right tackle spot is just not very good, the ceiling for this offensive line is going to be a little bit lower. But I think if you can just get adequate play from right tackle this fall, this could be one of the best offensive lines in the country.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. And you made a good point about the right tackle position being your your weakest link potentially. And the guy who's stepping into that place has got big shoes to fill because JC Latham was a stud at right tackle. I think in his career at Alabama, he only gave up maybe 1 sack his entire career or something like that. I mean, it was just an incredible display of play from JC Latham. This next guy has big shoes to fill, but you don't come to Alabama without those high expectations and in yourself. So whoever that guy is, he's going to get on that. He's going to get on that field and he's going to play hard and he's going to work his butt off because that's not only the expectation of the team, but you come to Alabama, that's the expectation you have in yourself as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it's kind of since we're on that topic of the right tackle spot, who are you thinking, Jake, is going to eventually win that position?
I think Miles McVay has a really good chance. I think he was on the second team in the A-Day game starting out. He might have been on the first. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long. It seems like now since A-Day happened. But yeah, I think he's got a really good shot. There's several guys that's in the running. But I'm going to trust the coaching staff on picking the right guy to fill that slot, and whoever it is, I'm going to be behind them 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miles McVay is certainly an option. I think
Mhm.
right now I would probably lean towards either Wilkin Formby
Mhm.
or Elijah Pritchett to be that starter at right tackle. And I think what this coaching staff is probably going to do is, we know that Proctor we'll look at it in stages. I don't think you're going to have, a two deep of, hey, these guys are my left tackles and these guys are my right tackles. I think you're just going to have stages of tackles. So
Mhm.
I think Proctor is tackle one,
Yep.
and I think either Formby or Pritchett will be tackle 2. The other will be 3. McVay is likely 4, but he is also capable of moving up. I really like Miles McVay, but he doesn't have the body type that new offensive line coach Coach Cap likes or Coach DeBoer likes. He likes a little bit thinner offensive tackles.
Right.
McVay's, 340, 350. You're looking at Formby and Elijah Pritchett, anywhere between 310 and 325. So I think they like the tackles to be a little lighter on the feet. You see what Kadyn Proctor looks like compared to last season. He has trimmed down significantly. Tyler Booker talked about how he's lost 25 pounds so far this offseason. He played at 355 last year, and he's weighing at about 330 right now. So that's why I lean Pritchett and Formby right now, is simply because I think the build of those two players fits more of what Coach Cap and Coach DeBoer wanted from a tackle.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. I'm excited for the season to get here, but I agree with everything we both have said so far. This offensive line is setting up to be one of the best in a long time at Alabama, honestly.
I agree. I think, and there was a lot of talk, heading into last season about how good this offensive line could be. And I think we all can agree that it underperformed. And,
Right.
Was a lot of that because they just got too heavy? They couldn't be as nimble and quick as they needed to be? Was it just the coaching style didn't match the player personality? Whatever the issues were, they underachieved, in my opinion. Now, look, some of the sack numbers was not on the offensive line. I think we've talked about that before. You're breaking in a new starter at quarterback. He's not as comfortable. He wasn't as comfortable last season. Milroe wasn't, standing there in the pocket and getting rid of the ball, taking chances with the ball. He was very safe. So he took some sacks they didn't need to. But I really believe that this offensive line is going to show tremendous improvement. I think you saw that with the numbers for Proctor's first 7 games through the last 7 games. I think that is what the offensive line was as a whole. I thought the offensive line got better and better throughout the season. But man, when we got to Michigan in the playoff game, look, you go back and look, Michigan done that to everybody. Their front 7 was incredible last season, and Alabama just couldn't kind of get out of their own way in that game. But I'm really excited about what this offensive line can be in 2024.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. And you brought up a great point. Some of the issues I felt like, with the, kind of the lapse at times with Kadyn Proctor fell on the quarterback. We talked about that at nauseum about how Milroe seemed like he held the ball a little bit too long in certain situations. Whether it is Milroe or Ty Simpson this upcoming year, I feel like the coaching staff is going to instill in that quarterback, if you feel the heat, get rid of it, scramble out of the pocket, something, and take the pressure off those offensive linemen. So, I don't think we're going to have as many lapses as we did this previous season.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I like what Tristan says here about, the development, toughness, competition, and having a great 6 man. Speaking of that, I think the guy we got from Michigan State, the transfer, I think that's probably going to be the 6th man because he can play any of the 3 interior positions along the offensive line. Was it Vandermark? Is that his last name? Vandermark?
Something like that. Yep.
His name slipped my mind. But I like what he brings as that kind of 6th man along the offensive line because he's an experienced player. He's a good player. He played good at Michigan State. And I'm really shocked. That just shows how much he likes Coach Cap. That he's willing to come in. I mean, he does have 2 years of eligibility remaining, but the fact that he's willing to come here, play behind Booker, play behind Roberts, and play behind Brailsford, and kind of have that 1 year under his belt in Tuscaloosa before he takes over one of those spots next year is huge. Because I honestly believe that next year we're probably replacing all 3 of those interior players.
Yeah,
they'll all be draft eligible, and they're all going to be, some of the top players at their positions entering the 2025 NFL draft. So I really like Vandermark as our 6th man, and then whoever wins that backup tackle role, whether it's Formby, whether it's McVay, whether it's Pritchett, that'll be that 7th guy coming off the bench. And I think you're looking at your top 7 offensive linemen. I mean, you match those guys up against anybody in the country, and you have to like what Alabama's going to be putting on the field on Saturdays this fall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited about the season. I'm ready for it to be
84 days, guys. We're 84 days away until August 31st. And so with that being said, I mean, they're going to practice for, a month before the season starts. So really you're looking at, we're just around 50 days or so before they start reporting for fall camp. That is just incredible. SEC Media Days is about a month away. So look, the college football season is going to be here before you know it. There's games before, that first game between Alabama and Western Kentucky. So really, the college football season is probably only about 75, 80 days away. So
Right.
it's going to be here quick. This year is just flying by, and but the truth is, it can't get here soon enough. I'm really excited about the season and what the new era of Alabama football is going to look like under Coach DeBoer, because it's going to be different. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different, and just because it's different doesn't mean it's not going to be great. So really excited about the season, Jake. We've kind of already talked about it, but I want to touch on it again, and I think you even answered it, but I'll ask it, uh, this way. Do you believe that Roberts and Booker is the best guard duo in the country?
No, no doubt
And
about
I'll even
it.
go beyond that. Do you think the interior of Alabama's offensive line is the best in the country?
Yeah, I believe that 100%, man. I mean, we saw it seems like last year issues running the ball up, especially on the right hand side. You had Latham over there, but it just seemed like they weren't getting any kind of push on that side. Once Roberts got inserted in, that it seemed like the running game took off in the middle part of the season, and he was a big part of that. I mean, he's a big bulldozer that was, getting his guy out of the way and then pushing the second and third level and hitting the linebackers. So in that hole. And I mean, he's a monster on that line, man. I was really, really impressed when he come in and stepped in and did a great job. And I think his first game was against, I think, maybe A&M, and
That
A&M,
sounds right. That
yeah.
sounds right. Yeah.
And I mean, A&M, what kind of front line they had, and he didn't get pushed around at all.
No.
And I said, okay, this guy's gonna be the guy, and he did that. And we already knew what Tyler Booker, what he was capable of, and he just showed that as well. Now we saw what Parker done at Washington under DeBoer. Now he's here, man. This interior front, offensive line. You're right, man. I think it's going to be the best in the country.
Yeah, and look, I think there is such a good example of how, two things can be true and how fans need to remain patient with players. Look, Tyler Booker come in as a freshman ready to play.
Right.
On the offensive line. That's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
Jaeden Roberts was in his third year on campus, halfway through his third season on campus, basically, before he gets inserted into the starting lineup. But now you're talking about two of the best guards in the country. So they're both really good football players, but they got to where they're at in different stages and in a different time. So look, be patient with these kids, especially when you're talking about offensive and defensive linemen. You better be patient with these kids because they mature, they develop at a different pace than other players do at their positions. And if you can just remain patient, and look, kudos to Jaeden Roberts for not dipping out.
Mm-hmm.
He allowed the coaching staff to continue to develop him, and look where he's at now.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey, and William. I agree with you as well. Not trying to sound like a homer, but I mean the truth's the truth. In all honesty.
I mean, look, tell me who's got a better one.
Right.
I'll tell you who don't have one. That's Ohio State. And I'm not trying to
you're right.
trying to throw shade at Seth McLaughlin, but my gosh, and look, for his sake, I hope his snaps are better this season.
Yeah, he got the case of the yips.
But his snapping last year cost Alabama so many times. So many times.
Yep.
And it throws the timing off on plays. It takes Jalen Milroe's eyes, off the field where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and then it got in his head. He couldn't stop doing it. I think it affected his blocking some.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like now with Parker there at center, the snaps are not going to be an issue. With Booker and Roberts at guard, you're talking about the best interior offensive line in the country. And when you're stout up the middle, just like on defense, if you're stout up the middle, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Oh, absolutely. That is so strange about what happened to Seth McLaughlin because, when he took over the center role a few years ago with after Dalcourt got kind of hurt, a lot of people was already talking, and I really liked Dalcourt. He was a great guy and an ambassador for the team, but it just seemed like the offensive line gelled a lot better with Seth McLaughlin when he got inserted in that position. And then last year, just I don't know what happened. Like you said, it's a mental block or something that happened. I wish nothing but the best for the kid. I hope he gets it, straightened out. But yeah, it did cost Alabama a lot of what their goals were, last year.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. There was just too many untimely bad snaps. I mean, it nearly cost us the Iron Bowl. I mean, it probably cost us the Rose Bowl, if we're being honest. So,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but like you said, I do wish Seth the best, and I don't mean to pile on the guy. He's had enough people ride him, but man, it was tough to see all those bad snaps. But I'm excited about what Parker Brailsford can bring to this offensive line, and hopefully, I know people's concerned about his size. Man, if you go back and watch him play Texas, that's all I'll say. Watch him play Texas. They had one of the best interior defensive lines in the country, and he more than held his own against those guys. So don't let his lack of girth get you all upset, because I think this dude can play. I think he's strong, and I think he just knows how to play the position. That's one of those. The center position is, to me, is either the dude's got it or he don't. And so I think he's got it. And I think like Tristan says there in the chat, that the running game, the run blocking is going to be a strength of this team. And when you got the backs that Alabama has, that's a dangerous combination.
Talking about the running game real quick, Stacey. The very first play, and I'm sure everybody by now has saw reruns or actually watched the A-Day game. The very first play was a run for Jam Miller, and it went to the side. We had some blockers on that side and not the field, but it ran for 26 yards. I think like 22, 26 yards, something like that. Very first play of the game. And I was on the edge. We're gonna go at the middle. We're going to get some yards this year for sure, because that interior deep offensive line is going to be pushing some guys out of the way. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. Great point. Great point. Jake, is there anything else on the offensive line that just really sticks out to you that you think we need to discuss here this morning?
Not really. I was looking through the chat and see if there's anything else, that somebody said. But really, I really want to get to what William talked about earlier, and I think Tristan's also mentioned it as well. But the coaching staff, how great they've done, and we've talked about that ad nauseum as well, how great they've been. But that's what William said. 3 reasons why I love the DeBoer hire. He was able to keep the majority of the staff from Saban. We have a better coach staff than last season, especially on offense. And Bama's still recruiting at a high level. Now, Stacey, we talked about the recruiting thing, I think a couple of weeks ago, or pretty much our last show, I believe, talking about recruiting a little bit. But we feel like any coach can recruit at a high level at Alabama, because of the scripted A. I mean, that means something in the sports world, in the football world, to where the scripted A, because the history that involves with wearing that scripted A that comes with it. So I think any coach can be successful here and recruit at a pretty decent level. But there's something about DeBoer that I think he just has that swag, that recruits like him. Because every time he's taught so far, he's just been just no nonsense, kind of like Saban, but with more of the lesser tone, I should say. Is like, come to Alabama, and what he's done to keep not only the majority of the staff, but majority of the players. That message he gave them in that locker room resonated with the majority of them, and they stayed. So he just got that swag that I really like DeBoer for another reason as well, is because when we was looking to hire a replacement for Saban, he was like, I got to follow the greatest coach in college football history. I'm not scared. I'm going to take it and I'm going to run with it. He's like, I'm going to he's still here. I'm going to listen to his coaching points that he has for me. But overall, this is my team, and I'm going to do what I want with this team. But I'm still going to let the greatest coach of all time interject some wisdom into me.
Yeah, and DeBoer made so many just subtle moves with his coaching staff that look, being able to keep Robert Gillespie and Freddie Roach were huge. You're also keeping some staff personnel like HaHa Clinton Diggs and those top players as well or coaches were really important for the Alabama culture
Right.
and the Alabama kind of tradition and what it means to be at Alabama within the football program. But then he goes out and he gets, he brings Kane Womack, a guy who's a head coach at South Alabama, Mo
Yeah.
Linguist, a guy who's the head coach at Buffalo. So guys that know what it takes to run a program, guys who are elite recruiters, who know what they want, who understand what it takes to build a program. That's huge as well. Jamarcus Shepard is one of the best receiver coaches in the country. You talk about a guy who knows what it takes to motivate players, get the most out of his players. That is Jamarcus Shepard. Colin Hitchler, another good defensive back coach and co-defensive coordinator from Wisconsin, who does a great job of recruiting the DMV area, so he knows how to get that done. I like Brian Ellis there as the tight ends coach. Getting Coach Cap on the offensive line is huge. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive line coaches in the country. Then you kind of bring a young guy in Christian Robertson, who's only, 10 years removed from being a college football player in the SEC at Georgia. And so, he can relate to these young guys. Coaching the outside linebackers, a position groups is going to be really critical for the success of this defense. So just those moves is just, he just did such a phenomenal job of putting a staff together. And this is look, absent Nick Saban, this is one of the best coaching staffs Alabama's had in about 3 or 4 years. Really, since Coach Sark was on staff and that entire group, I'm not sure we've had this good of a coaching staff since then.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. And you brought up, two points about getting former coaches. They left being head coaches to come to Alabama to be coordinators. I mean, that says something. He pretty much told those guys, I feel like, your head coaches now, but they're smaller programs. Yeah, they're up and coming. But you come to Alabama and be coordinators under me. This is your stepping stone for a high profile job potentially. So he's able to get that in those guys, and just like you said, some of the moves. And I really like, we had the whole issue with offense coordinator coming in, then leaving out Grubb. But I really like Nick Sheridan. I feel like we're going to be okay under him. I think he's going to have some good things, some positive things to instill in the coaching or in the playbook. But overall, that offensive mind comes from Kalen DeBoer. So I want you, don't fret on the offensive, play calling, because it's still Coach DeBoer who is in that mindset and pretty much has the last say in the offensive game plan.
Yeah, and keeping, I think I should have mentioned this earlier, keeping the support staff like Jeff Allen and David Ballou as well, huge. And we all are seeing how important Courtney Morgan is to the success of this program as well from a roster management standpoint, because that's his job. He has to manage the roster, both guys that he's wanting to bring in, and then trying to roster retention to me is as big as recruiting now. I mean, you have to be able to keep the guys that you want to keep on your roster, and that's kind of the role that Courtney Morgan plays. And man, that dude is busting it, and he is doing a fantastic job. And I think he does a great job of connecting with these players, both to retain what they have there in Tuscaloosa, and then also being able to scout and find the type of players they want to implement into the system they have there in Tuscaloosa. So the impact that Courtney Morgan is going to have on this program cannot be overstated.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. It's going to be he's huge. He's been playing a huge role here lately. And what he did at Washington is phenomenal as well. So just having that is going to be great at Alabama.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I love Hitchler is the one I really love to keep that back end having great communication development. Yeah, I agree. What else y'all want to talk about, guys? We
got a few minutes here.
Yeah. I can't wait. We still got a couple months to really dive in and dissect this team a little bit. From we kind of did the offensive line, but we can dissect even further with other positions. Go through. We may do a couple episodes on that.
Yeah, we'll do a full team depth chart projection here soon. And we'll cover all the position groups there, and we can kind of do that. Maybe release those one at a time, and then after we have them all done, we can kind of have a live show, kind of reacting to the entire depth chart, and then have everybody's interactions and thoughts and comments on that as well. That's how we'll plan to do that. Tristan wants to talk some Ryan Williams.
Oh,
I don't blame him.
I don't either.
That is that man. Where to start? I'll say this. This dude is as special as a player that I can remember watching from high school in a long time. This dude's just different. Look, I know Jeremy Bernard's there. I know Kobe Prentice is there. I know Kendrick Law is there. I know Cole Adams is there, who had a fantastic spring. Jalen Hale's injured, but he's going to be a fantastic football player. Emmanuel Henderson. There's a lot of dudes in that receiver room, but there's nobody on this roster from a receiver that has as much upside as Ryan Williams.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I agree, Stacey. He's I really love the depth of wide receiver, but I don't you think Ryan Williams is going to come in day one and be a starter?
I won't say day one. What I'll say is that by the time probably we get to that first bye week and we're getting ready for Georgia, we're going to see Ryan Williams is just going to slowly be implemented in this offense. Mm-hmm. And probably by that Georgia game or right around that time, he's going to really start to show why he was a 5-star recruit as a reclassification. I mean, this dude's supposed to be a senior this upcoming year in high school.
Yeah.
So he's unique. That's the best way I can describe him.
Let me say this too. Talking about two guys that are incoming freshmen this year, Mbakwe and Ryan Williams. I think they had some kind of skills challenge, and Mbakwe at that time at that skills challenge outran Ryan Williams in like a 40-yard dash, something like that. So we've got two of the fastest guys, in that skill challenge on the roster. So there's going to be some speed. One guy's on the defense side, of course, and then Ryan Williams. So it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can keep up with Ryan Williams this coming year.
It wouldn't surprise me if Mbakwe is the kick returner this year.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would love that.
That dude's electric.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, William, we'll get to your question here in just a second. David says, Williams is the best high school player I've ever seen. I've watched a lot of them in this era, South Alabama area. Yeah, that dude's just anytime you say he's the best I've ever seen, that's a massive statement. I don't want to say that. He's up there for sure. I mean, he is among the best high school players that I've ever seen. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, William asked, out of the box question, it seems it is certain as an inside linebacker coach that Womack is going to be on the sideline. Do you think Hitchler or Mo Linguist would be in the booth? That's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. I haven't thought about that. I think it'll be Hitchler if one of those two guys will be in the box. I think it'll be Hitchler because he does. I just feel like that would kind of be better for him. I think he would be more suited for that, and Mo Linguist can kind of be there on the sideline to interact with the players along with Coach Womack. So, but that's a great question, and that's something I'm interested to see how Coach DeBoer and Coach Womack kind of handle that situation.
I want to say that about coaches on, being on the sideline and stuff. When Alabama is really successful, it seems like both of their coordinators are on the sideline, getting in the ears of their players.
I agree.
So, I mean, look at Kirby, look at Shark, look at Lane Kiffin. When those guys were on the sideline, getting in the ears of their players, it seems like it worked out better for Alabama. I don't know what this coach staff is going to do and what they plan on. And you also got to think as a defense coordinator, being in the box, in the booth also helps you see the field a little bit better and kind of add how the offense is lined up. So I don't know. That's a very good question though, how they're going to play it out.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've probably already got that worked out. So we just don't know it yet. But somebody should ask Coach DeBoer because he's pretty open on stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things people was talking about is like, Saban always kind of kept things, under wraps. DeBoer just putting it all out there. It's and he's not really yelling at any media people right now. So
Not
that could
yet.
change.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
that
We'll
could change.
see.
Yeah, that could change once the season starts. But yeah, moving forward, Stacey, I'm excited to also start dissecting the schedule this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not only
Mm-hmm.
for Alabama, but we'll do mainly Alabama. But I mean the whole SEC as a whole, because we got Texas, Oklahoma coming in, and boy, some of those schedules, aka Florida, their schedules look rough.
And see, and look, I think Florida's going to be improved this year, but their schedule's so freaking brutal. I don't know how they go 6-6.
I don't either. I mean, that the last 5 games, they've got to win probably 2 of those. And I think the last 5 consist of Florida State, LSU, Georgia. I can't remember who all, but I mean,
I'm fixing to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's the last 5 is rough.
Yeah, they first of all, they open the season hosting Miami, and it's at freaking 2:30 in the afternoon. You imagine how hot it's going to be August 31st at 2:30 in the afternoon in Gainesville?
That's going to be miserable.
It'll be 100 degrees with 85% humidity.
Yeah, for real.
But my SEC games, A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State to wrap up the season. My God. Listen to this stretch. From November 2nd to November 30th, they play home against or neutral side against number 1 Georgia, at number 4 Texas, home for number 12 LSU, home for number 6 Ole Miss, at number 15 Florida State.
Good God.
I mean, the truth is, I look at the top half of their schedule, Jake, and I would be slightly surprised if they went undefeated in that. But, I mean, I wouldn't be just completely shocked if they went undefeated in their first 6 games. Now, there's a couple really tough ones, but, if they go 4-2, 5-1 in those first 6 games, and then those first 7 games, but then you finish up, my gosh.
Yeah,
I mean, they're probably going to drop those last 5 games.
Yeah, be honestly. Yeah.
I mean, not better. They're not better than any of those teams. I mean, you might catch a couple off guard, and there's a lot of variables. Some injuries could happen, and some of those teams kind of fall off a little bit. But you're right, Jake. That schedule for the Florida Gators and Billy Napier is just brutal. Then you put in this whole Jaeden Rashada situation off the field, and my gosh, just Billy Napier has got his work cut out for him in 2024.
He does. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm interested to see how, it all works itself out, bringing in Texas, Oklahoma, not only in, football, but in the other sports as well. I mean, I went ahead and said it. I said, well, we just had 2 SEC teams fighting for the softball championships this past, Oklahoma won it, of course, because they're a freaking dynasty if there ever was one in softball. It's incredible what they've done, not only in the last 4 years, but previous years as well. Patty Glasgow's probably going to go down in history as probably the best softball coach in history.
Oh, yeah.
And but you implement them, and this makes not only football more of a challenge, but every sport when you bring those in, because we just talked about Oklahoma, and Texas is actually the number 1 team in softball. But Oklahoma beat them. So those 2 teams are really good in softball. So that just elevates every other team's softball play, needs to get that much better. Basketball, usually Oklahoma and Texas have really good programs in basketball. Baseball, they're really good in. So that's going to up everybody's, level of intensity and getting that much better across all the sports. So I'm loving bringing them guys in this year. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. We talked about how brutal Florida's schedule is. Missouri, on the other hand, Jake, I don't know how they maneuvered their way into this schedule.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, their non-conference matchups, Jake. Listen to this: Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, UMass.
All right, that's 4-0.
I mean, there's one Power 5 team you're playing, and it's Boston College. They haven't been relevant since Doug Flutie.
Right, exactly.
Matt Ryan, I guess. But
What's up, bud?
but then you get to their SEC schedule, and somehow they avoid Texas,
Mm-hmm.
they avoid Georgia, they avoid Ole Miss,
Mm-hmm.
they avoid LSU. Their their SEC schedule is even just, I mean, at A&M, very winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
Home for Auburn, very winnable game.
Yep.
Home for Oklahoma, very winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
At South Carolina, very
Very
winnable game.
winnable. Mm-hmm.
At Mississippi State, very winnable game. Home for Arkansas, very winnable game. Their only game that to me that you would describe as their I mean, 99% of the time they're not going to win it is at Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they could go 11-1, Jake, and really not even be that. I mean, they'd be good, but not great.
Right. Exactly.
To
You
me,
don't
and
know what they have.
that's why scheduling matters. That's why it should be part of the equation. That's why Florida State fans cannot be mad at why they didn't get in the playoff. I mean, anyway, I just had to point that out, that Missouri has one of the easiest schedules for an SEC team that I can ever remember.
That is ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
How do you avoid Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, and Georgia? How do you avoid all four of those?
They very, very likely, but
man, in a couple of years they're going to get hammered. I'm sure.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I agree. Tristan said if I were Kalen, I would use Saban's knowledge to understand how DC and the SEC like to attack and the holes in defense, especially Kirby's D. Is SEC ready for his play calling?
Yeah. That's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see. You know, if not only if Kalen DeBoer is ready for the defense that is played in the SEC, but are these defensive coordinators in the SEC ready for what Kalen DeBoer likes to do on offense? And now that he has the type of skill set that he has in Tuscaloosa, the type of talent, it could be dangerous.
Yeah, it could definitely play out both ways. I really think our offense is going to be electric this year, and I'm telling, I think people is sleeping on the defense. I mean, there's still talent there, but everybody's worried about the 4-2-5 scheme. I'm not worried at all about it. So it's Alabama honestly kind of looked like a 4-2-5 last year because those down linebackers, they were down and on the line of scrimmage attacking. So I'm not real worried about it. I'm actually excited to see what Kane Warmack's defense will look like.
Me too. Yeah. And we'll kind of talk about all those things, both the offense and the defense, as we, kind of go release our videos throughout the summer months about the depth chart and what we're expecting. And so excited about that. And there's so much to talk about this summer, guys. There's so much we can kind of unpack, so much that we can kind of even question ourselves and what can we expect. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. And, this is going to be one of the most memorable Alabama football seasons in a long time because of the fact that Coach Saban is retired now. A new era has begun with Kalen DeBoer, and then you look at the roster and the how different it's going to look, and then the scheme and how different that's going to look. The Alabama defense has looked the same for a long time.
Right.
It's going to look a little different this year. The Alabama offense for the most part has looked the same for a very long time. It's going to be completely different this year. So there's a lot to anticipate and look forward to once that season gets here on August 31st.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm excited. I can't say that enough. It's
I feel like I've said it. I'm excited about 47 times on this show already, but I just am. I just can't wait. I cannot wait.
I know I can't either. It's like you said, it's a new era, and I'm anxious to see how it goes. And for those who are not Alabama fans, I think you're going to be a little disappointed because I don't think Alabama's going anywhere under Kalen DeBoer. I think they're still going to be at the top.
Me either. I agree with you 100%, Jake. This from what we've been able to see so far, and of course we'll find out more once the actual season starts. But from everything I've seen, from what I've heard from Coach DeBoer and the rest of the coaching staff, my expectations are still high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still believe that we're still in talks of being the standard of college football. I don't think that's changed because Nick Saban retired. I really believe that Coach DeBoer, I'm not going to say he's going to win 6 titles over the next 17 years.
Right.
I'm not saying that whatsoever. What Nick Saban done will never be done again. Kirby Smart's not going to accomplish what Nick Saban did, even though he's a fantastic football coach. I'm not expecting Kadyn DeBoer to do those things, but Alabama is going to be right in the mix year in and year out. That's not changing. And to me, there's no evidence of that from if you're an opposing fan base. I'm going to go back to what I have to say every single offseason for the past, especially for like the past 5 years. All it is other fan bases with wishful thinking.
Yep.
They kept talking about the decline of Nick Saban, and all he did was keep winning the SEC and keep making it to the college football playoff, won a championship 4 years ago, a national championship 4 years ago. This dude, the demise of Nick Saban was vastly overstated, and now with him retiring, the demise of Alabama football is being vastly overstated as well. Alabama's not going anywhere.
No. How many? I can't remember now, but when it was a 14 playoff, how many years was it the 14 playoff until this year? It's changed, I know, but
was it 10? Was it 2014 to this year? I think it was 10 years.
So only one of those years did Alabama not make the 14 playoff.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and now it's 12 teams. Alabama's going to be right in the middle of every single year.
I mean, it'd be hard not to be. I mean,
right.
To me, 10-2 just about every year is going to get you in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's going to be occasions where 9-3 will get you in.
Right, because of the teams we're playing. If you lose a couple of games to ranked teams, that's not going to really hurt you that bad.
Well, I'm here to tell you right now, in like 2 years, it'll be 16 teams. I mean, watch and see. It'll be 16 teams. Then it'll just be that much easier to make the playoffs. So, look. Now we will have to adjust what our goals are and what we believe the standard to be. I think under Nick Saban, under the 4-team format, making the playoff was the expectation.
Right.
To me. Now, I still think it's making the playoff, and now you probably need to win one. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the yearly expectations that I will have.
Yeah.
So really not much has changed from that perspective because making the playoff, when you're one of the top 12 teams, you're one of the best teams in the country. You got a shot at winning a national championship. And to me, I think you still want to be kind of one of those top 4 teams, so you do receive that first round bye and avoid playing that extra game. But to me, expectations have not changed. I'm expecting the playoff berth, and I mean, entering this season, Alabama's got just as much chance to win the national championship as anybody else.
Can you imagine Alabama being a top 4 team, having that game at home at Bryant-Denny under the lights on a whenever they play it, like a Saturday night or whatever? My gosh, it's going to be electric.
That part I am looking forward to is home playoff games for these programs, especially think about in Happy Valley, if LSU hosts one in Death Valley, how crazy that would be.
Yeah,
Bryant-Denny.
Yeah,
I mean, just Columbus, Ohio. The big house in Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
shoot, you talk about just fantastic stuff.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to that. I'm glad that they did that for sure.
All right, guys, y'all got anything else before we wrap up the show?
I want to say real quick, if Kadyn DeBoer wins 2 national championships at Alabama, I am elated. I am 100% elated what he did at Alabama.
I agree.
You can't be more ecstatic than I've already seen 7 championships in my lifetime. If I get 2 more in my lifetime, I'm happy. There's teams out there that would love to go 9-3 every single year.
Yeah,
at least be 9-3 every single year, much less win that championship and see one in their lifetime.
No doubt about it, man. Anybody got anything else before we wrap up our show? Been a great live show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that.
Yes, for sure. We'll have to do it again soon. We got some plans. We talked about some of the future events we're going to do, but we'll get on another live here. Can't wait to hopefully Biscuits with Bama be back again this season, and I haven't heard yet from Butcher Report. Maybe we'll be able to do that again this season too. That was a lot of fun.
I think my expectations is that we will be doing, instant reaction shows with Bleacher Report once again this fall. So
Cool.
just for some early conversations.
Nice. Love it.
Tristan, thank you so much. That means the world to us. Look, there's a lot of great. I have friends that host Alabama shows. I'm friends with Jimmy Stein of Locked On Bama. I talk with him very often. There is a lot of great Alabama football programs here on YouTube or podcast form, and we're just thankful that we can kind of be a part of that and have a fan base that supports us the way that you guys do. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much we appreciate the kind words, Tristan.
Thank you, Tristan. Really appreciate it. When you've been with us from
a
the
long time.
beginning. So we appreciate that. Being
one of the OGs.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate that. And one of these days, me and Stacey, maybe we get to Bryant Denny and do a live show at Bryant Denny Stadium or in front of it, whatever, and meet everybody. That would be a dream. That would be fun to do. Of course, the equipment like that probably costs a ton.
we need some fan support on that. I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, but that would be one of these days. Hopefully, we have no goals, and when we have goals for this podcast, but how far we've gone so far is incredible. I never expected to be as big as we are right now. Anything from here on out is just awesome and
just extra.
Thanks. Yeah,
everything's just from this point on. Everything's just something extra. We've already surpassed anything that we had from an expectation standpoint from when we started way back in the day. So, we can't thank you guys enough. We can't.
I mean, I don't care if there's only 2 people that listen to us. I always want to talk, Alabama football
exactly.
with you, Stacey. But what it has grown to, thank you all for the support. And yeah, fan day. One of these days, hopefully we'll be able to do a fan day and meet you guys, and you'll get to see us in person. But always have dreams and goals.
And I'll say this from a production standpoint of the show, we do want to get to the point where we can take call-ins. That's something we do want to be able to do. So hopefully we can figure that out and find a way to make that work from production standpoint. So that is something to kind of look forward to as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Hey, we're going to wrap it up now. Been a lot of fun. What a great show. Thank you guys so much in the live chat for interacting with us. If you're watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss another live show when we get around to doing that. Jump in the comments. Give us your thoughts on the show as well. We're also free and available on the Believe Network, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We appreciate those guys at Believe Network. And this show has been presented to you by betonline.ag. Make sure you head over to BetOnline for all your betting needs. Right now, the NBA Finals are going on. The Stanley Cup Finals are going on. So make sure you head on over to betonline.ag for all that. And if you don't like to bet, you just want to play some casino games, they are also there. I think they have over 150 casino games on their website. So it's a lot of fun to kind of head over there and just play around on their website. It's really easy to navigate and use. So do that today and use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. And until then, roll tide.
Roll Tide.